I've spent pretty much all morning repainting our bathroom and I cannot for the life of me get the paint off my hands. So if you can see lots of green around my nails, I'm clean, I promise. It just looks very much like I'm not. But hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. I thought today we could just do a very chilled video. We're just coming into, we are just coming into spring now, which is such a lovely thing to be able to say. And I thought I could just take you through some of the plants that I hope to get the most out of over the growing season that we're coming into. Not that I don't hope to get the most out of all of my plants, but the ones I'm going to take you through today are ones that I'm specifically very excited about. I can already see some of them starting to do really exciting things. So yeah, that is the plan for today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And usually I do kind of like a top 10 for these kind of videos, but I have just brought over a load of things. I'm pretty certain there's more than 10. But yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So as I was going through and making a note of the plants that I wanted to show you in this video, I kind of had to stop myself because I was getting ridiculously carried away. I ended up at one point with like 30 different plants on the list and I was like, condense, refine. Because honestly, there are so many things that are genuinely really exciting me at the moment. And I think just because, as I say, we're coming into spring and this is the first time that I am able to kind of see my plants in a bigger space because obviously I've just moved house and I feel like I'm just clocking things in a way that I haven't really been able to previously because I've had so many plants in a very small space. So yeah, there's just loads of things that I might have overlooked previously. So yes, anyway, these plants are in no particular order. But the first one that I wanted to show you is my Anthurium regale magnificum. And this, since I got it, this has been an Anthurium that I absolutely love. If you've watched my videos for a while, you'll know that the regale is a type of Anthurium that I have struggled so much with. I've tried to grow it so many times and it's just, I don't know, it's just one that I really can't get my head around. And I've said it before, but hybrid plants, and this doesn't just apply to Anthuriums, it typically applies to every genus, but hybrid plants tend to be, most of the time, tend to be a little bit more resilient, a little bit more robust, and a little bit easier to grow. I think that just comes down to the fact that they've got two different gene pools from both parent sides. So as I say, this is not a full regale, but it is half a regale, half magnificum. And I have had so much more luck with this plant. And although it doesn't quite look like a regale, it has got a lot of the characteristics. It's got this kind of spaced lobing at the top, which I absolutely love. And I have found it, although not as difficult as the regale to grow, I haven't found it a walk in the park, and I have found it very slow to grow. However, it has just started giving me a new leaf and I feel like this one is going to be absolutely huge. By all means, place your bets down in the comments just how big this leaf is going to get to, but bearing in mind this was the last leaf it gave me and that was maybe 5 or 6 months ago now. I feel like this one is going to be insanely big and I am so excited. Honestly, I'm so excited. This has been kind of starting to emerge for the last week and a half, 2 weeks now, and I have been checking back on it every single day. It was around a plant that had thrips at one point. I found thrips on one of my philodendrons and I was like, oh God, I was like, no, I really hope the thrips haven't got into the new leaf because you know how sometimes you'll have a new leaf and then thrips will just get into it before it's even had the chance to unfurl and it just ruins the leaf. But thankfully that hasn't happened. But this is one that I am still growing just in sphagnum moss. I have kind of debated mixing things up and maybe, I don't know, getting it into semi-hydro or something like that. But I think I'm just erring on the edge of caution because of my experience with the regale. And for that reason, I'm like, it seems happy in moss. I'm just going to keep it in moss for the time being. And to be honest, there's no real reason I can't continue to grow it in moss. Obviously, it is, I was going to say it is an epiphytic plant. I believe, I have a feeling actually, and I'll put this on the screen and correct myself if I'm wrong, but I think perhaps the magnificum is epiphytic, which means it doesn't typically grow out of the ground, and the regale is terrestrial, which means it does grow out of the ground in its natural habitat. I will check that and I will let you know. But yeah, for that reason, moss is very representative of how this plant might naturally grow, and therefore I reckon it's okay to leave it like that for a while. The only thing you do just have to be a little bit cautious of when you grow in moss over a long period of time is that as the moss starts to kind of naturally break down, it can become quite sludgy, and that can lead to things like root rot. So you do just need to keep an eye on it, but for the time being, I think it's fine. So yeah, that is one that I am so excited about. I think as well, just because it's so big and it's so like grand and statementy. When I say statementy, I just mean like dramatic and like bam, like you walk in and you're like, oh, that's a nice plant. I feel like it's just one that is, not that it isn't already the apple of my eye, but with every new leaf it just makes me a little bit more excited. So I feel like I'm going to have a, touch wood, good growing season with this plant, and I will keep you updated with it, because once I feel like I've really got the hang of things with this plant, I think I might then feel a little bit more inclined to go back to the regale and give that another try, because I would love to figure that one out. I'd really love to figure it out, but this feels like progress, so for that reason, it is on this list. And I'm just going to go through everything else, as I say, in a very random order. Some of them I'm not going to spend too much time on, some of them are just little updates, but the one that is closest to me is the Hoya red tendon. And this one gets its name because if you look at the undersides of its leaves, it's got those beautiful, beautiful red tendons that run all the way up the middle of the leaf. It's so pretty. And this is one that, in fact, I do believe I got in the same import order as I did this plant. And this has also been one that's been very slow to get going for me. And to be honest, it hasn't given me any new growth in the time that I've owned it, and I've just kind of been ignoring it, and I've just been like, okay, well, it hasn't died, but it hasn't really done anything. And again, since moving here, I think I've just been a little bit more attentive to a lot of my plants, and I've been able to kind of notice things and encourage things and make sure things don't dry out quite so quickly, because Hoyas are, as a genus, typically very drought tolerant. I have been guilty of letting this one go bone dry many times, and in fact at one point it did start giving me some new growth, and that new growth died off, and I think that's because I neglected the plant. So I'm being very on top of it, and I'm keeping it as happy as I possibly can, and you might be able to notice already it's starting to give me some little leaves, which I'm so excited about. Because this is a Hoya that before I got it in my import order, I didn't even know existed. I had no clue about it, and I just think it's a really, really cool one. It's very different to anything else I own. And although maybe the tops of the leaves aren't that exciting, I feel like it's one that you could kind of grow, I don't know, grow facing out to a window, prime position for the plant, and be able to really enjoy and appreciate the back of the plant. And you can't say that for many plants. So yeah, it's one that I'm just really excited about, and I do hope that these new leaves here will be the start of lots of lovely growth, and I can get it onto a trellis and, oh, who knows, maybe encourage it to bloom. That's the other thing I was going to say, is that, like, I've never been massively excited about flowering houseplants. But again, for some reason, having a little bit more space, like I said in a video the other day, colour isn't overwhelming me in the way that it used to, I think because it doesn't feel cluttered. But also I have been more excited about encouraging my plants to bloom. I've got one of my Ace which is blooming at the moment, and it just looks stunningly beautiful. And I've got a few Hoyas that are starting to give me peduncles and show the signs of maybe flowering. So yeah, I actually don't know what this one's blooms look like. If I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen so that you can see. But yeah, it's quite an unusual Hoya, so I don't know. But yeah, again, stay tuned. I'm very excited for the potential of this plant and what it might do next. And it just feels like we're off to a really good start. And then this one, oh, okay, so this is one I'm really excited about, but I am having issues already, and I only got this plant last week, a week and a half ago, and I have shown you it briefly in my Begonia video that I made the other day. And this is my variegated alocasia sarian, and the sarian has been a plant for me that has been on my wish list for years. Like, honestly, I have banged on about this plant so much over the years, and I managed to find a variegated one, and I was like, oh my god, that is just so exciting. And I am aware that firstly, it's an incredibly sensitive alocasia. The person that I got this off, Mark at the Eden Lab, he did say to me, he was like, this is not an easy plant, maybe don't go for one that's highly variegated. And I know that it's acclimating, and I know this is early days, but 2 of its leaves are already on the way out. This one here, as you can see, I'm almost may as well chop that one back. It is a complete goner, and this one is starting to fade as well. Unfortunately, this one here is its most recent leaf, so maybe it's just getting ready to give me a new leaf. I don't know, maybe it is just adjusting, but I feel a little bit scared of this plant at the moment. It's one that I don't know. I have never grown before. I'm also jumping straight in with a variegated variety before I've even grown the non-variegated species of alocasia. So yeah, I'm apprehensive, I would say. It's one that I'm really looking forward to, and I really hope that this growing season I can do good things for. But it just feels like we're off to a little bit of a rocky start. As I say, I know this is acclimation, and if this was anybody else's plant, I'd be saying, calm down, it's week 1, this happens. But I think just because it's my own plant, I'm just worrying and overthinking things. So yeah, I have also transferred it straight into semi-hydro. It just felt like the right thing to do. It came in a very little kind of like plug pot with like a little bit of soil, and I was like, semi-hydro has always been kind of like my cheat code to getting alocasias to work. Even alocasias that I've really struggled with over the years. Typically when I put them into semi-hydro, I have been able to get my head around a little bit better. So I feel like I've set the plant up in the best way, and I've also got it right over by my humidifier, underneath my mother grow light. It's warm, it's humid, it's light, it's all the good things. So in theory, some good things should happen, but yeah, currently we're just losing 2 leaves, and I am praying that that beautiful leaf there stands the test of time and gives me another leaf before, oh, I hope it doesn't die back, but before it potentially dies back, if that's what it's going to do for a while. I have also noticed with certain types of alocasia, they can cycle quite a lot until they are acclimated, and acclimating a plant can take, I mean, like, you like to think it would take weeks, it can take months. I remember when I first moved into my old flat, I moved from my mum's conservatory, and all of my plants had like insane levels of light, like perfect conditions for the last year. And I remember some of my plants that were previously quite easy, I moved them into my flat, and for the first couple of weeks they were absolutely fine, and then at kind of like around the month mark, or in fact for some of them like even a little bit longer, things started to go wrong, and I was like, you really took a moment to tell me you weren't happy. So yeah, we will play it by ear, but I do have, as I say, high hopes for this one. I do think we can do it. I'm remaining as optimistic as possible, so yes. And another one that I'm going to remain optimistic about, but I'm having a few concerns, is one that in fact I've had lots of questions from you guys about recently, saying, do I still have this plant? And this is the Welwitschia mirabilis. And that's what it's looking like at the moment. It's obviously not looking like much currently, and I will put a picture on the screen of what this plant can look like when it's mature as a house plant. Because I first discovered this plant in my weird plant series that I made here on my channel, because it's commonly known as the living fossil plant. And I think I'm right in saying that in its natural habitat, it can live to be like tens of thousands of years old. It's supposedly been on Earth longer than dinosaurs. It's just an insane plant. And I got some seeds last year, I think probably about maybe 4 months ago now, and I decided that I was going to try and grow it from seed. And oh my goodness, it is so difficult to grow from seed. I know some of you have asked, did I log the process and will I be documenting that? I did record everything I did, so I'll probably make a short on it because I know it's not a plant that a lot of us have. But yeah, stay tuned for that. The only good thing about this one, because this is actually the only one that made it. I had 5 seeds originally, and this is the only one still standing. It had these, I think they're called cotyledons, like very young leaves. And typically those will die back to make room for the big kind of mature leaves, which are these ones that are coming through just here. And the amazing thing about this plant is that it only ever grows 2. It will never grow more of those, and those are the leaves that it keeps for the rest of its life. And my only concern is that they are looking a little bit brown. They're not looking as great as they could be, and I've currently just got it in leca, perlite and vermiculite. And I'm not sure if I should be doing anything else. It's obviously still very young, it's still very small. And I have such, I know I'm saying that for all of the plants, but I have such high hopes for this one. I'd love to be able to grow it. But there's not many people to ask, because there's not many people that are growing this plant, and there's not a huge amount of information about this one online. If any of you have had success, please do let me know. I would genuinely be very, very grateful. But it's got a big long taproot that it puts down, and in fact you can see it just there at the bottom of the jar. And it's not looking quite as pale and full as it was when I first moved in here, so I'm like, do I change things up? I'm not sure. I really don't know. But yeah, it is still alive. It's in my cabinet at the moment, so again, controlled conditions. I think it probably would be ready to come out of the cabinet actually, but I just wanted to try and keep the conditions as stable as possible for it during the move, because it is obviously a very young and very fragile plant. But yes, currently I'm just a little bit nervous about it. God, there's a couple that I'm a little bit nervous about, but at the same time excited. It has like such insane potential. I think that's why I'm so excited about it. But yeah, at the moment, I don't feel like we're out of the danger zone yet. So stay tuned. And as I say, please let me know if you're growing it as well. Any tips would be much appreciated. But I just randomly grabbed this one as I was bringing other things over. This is another one that I got in the same import order as I did this one and the Hoya that I showed you. And I got this one from Asia, I think. And this was a little tissue culture Anthurium that I had to reach out to them and say, what is it? And they told me it was an Anthurium papillilaminum. And I'm not entirely convinced actually that this is a true pappy. Again, I know it is early days, like this is the most mature leaf it's given me so far, which I just saw this morning and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. But this is the most mature leaf I've had from it so far. And I'm just not entirely convinced. I know sometimes it does take the plant really maturing and before you can kind of like tell all of the characteristics and whether or not it is a true form or maybe it's a hybrid. I'm kind of thinking it's a hybrid, but what do you reckon? Obviously you can kind of get a good sense of the veination and everything on this leaf. Previously the leaves were just kind of like that. So yeah, I'd be really interested to know your thoughts. I know there's some of you that are avid Anthurium growers and really, really good at it and have a lot more experience than me. So genuinely, any thoughts, any theories, I would love to hear them. Currently, it's just growing in sphagnum moss in an old kimchi container, which, God, these things are so great. I get them from Tesco, I think. The kimchi is also very nice. But I just use them for like all sorts of propagation. They've got a transparent lid as well, so you can make like little prop boxes. I should really take the label off this one. It would look nicer. But yeah, for the time being, that's how it's growing. And yeah, I just want to know what it is because it is sizing up nicely now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to do for me over the next few months. And oh my goodness, another Anthurium update. So my Anthurium magnificum is one that hasn't been a happy bunny for a little while. At the flat, I feel like I never really struck a good balance with it, and it was always looking a little bit beaten up, a little bit unhappy, and it started giving me a new leaf. I think it started unfurling about a week and a half ago, and you know how Anthurium leaves start small and get bigger and bigger and bigger? This one still hasn't finished hardening off yet, but look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I'm so happy with how this one's doing because previously that was the last leaf it gave me, and not that it's awful, it just always looked a little bit battered and not particularly conditioned, and I just never really, I don't think I really had the conditions to be able to bring out the best in this plant, and I didn't really do enough in terms of like putting grow lights in place and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of no wonder since I moved in here it's gone, oh whoopee, this is fun, I've got more of everything I need. And it's given me this beautiful leaf. So I know this is one that has the potential to get, like, not just, I mean, it has the potential to get huge. I have seen Anthurium leaves that are like that big. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but if it does get that big, I don't know where I'm going to put it. I think I'll probably have to create maybe some new grow zones in the bedroom. I don't know. But yeah, considering that's the first leaf I've got from it, and we're not even in spring yet, I feel like if it keeps going, I could be coming out of growing season with a ginormous plant, which I do want. I know I'm saying I don't know where I'll put it, but I want to bring out the best in this one, I really do. And I'm hoping that maybe it's big enough now to start giving me some inflorescences, because I have been saying it for ages, but I would really like to dabble in Anthurium hybridization because it's something that I've been fascinated with for years and years and years, but I've just never had active inflorescences or pollen available at a time where I have had active inflorescences of plants that can be hybridized. I have self-pollinated my Anthurium pallidiflorum at the moment, and I can see the inflorescences starting to bulge, which is really exciting. I'm going to get some berries from that. And in fact, I would value your opinion in another area as well. Sorry, I know I'm asking you so many questions today. But it's also got another active inflorescence at the moment, and that is currently producing stigmatic fluid. So technically, I could pollinate it again, and I do have pallidiflorum pollen to be able to pollinate it again, but I'm like, I don't want to take all of the plant's energy. I don't want it to start like sacrificing foliage or anything like that. So I don't know. I've reached out to a couple of people that I consider to be like Anthurium experts, and I've had a couple of different opinions. So what would you do? Do you think maybe just harvest the pollen this time? I'm thinking that's probably the most sensible idea, but also I kind of want to pollinate again. So I don't know. But yeah, again, I will be keeping you very updated if I do any hybridization, because it's something that I have been fascinated with for as long as I can remember. And yeah, I feel like it's the year. I'm very much looking forward to doing some of that. So yes, pray for the magnificum. I want that to give me inflorescences, because I know that one can hybridize loads of plants that I've got. So fingers crossed. And then not a massive amount to say on this one, but I just wanted to give you a little update on my Aglaonema pictum tricolour. This is the one that I got from, I can't remember the name of the plant shop, but lovely plant shop when I went to Bath last year. I did a Houseplants All UK episode on that, so I will link that down below. But this was a diddy little thing when I got it. It was literally, I think, about 3 leaves and about that big. And it's one that has been, I mean, not a slow grower, because obviously it is sizing up nicely, but one that hasn't been significant enough in its growth for me to give lots of updates on. So I feel like it's one that I just don't really talk about. But again, like as it is starting to size up now, getting really, really tall, it's starting to get a little bit more tree-like. And that's the one thing that I really love about this plant. So again, coming into the spring, I do feel like this is just one that's going to keep growing and hopefully sizing up, because at the moment, although it's growing very tall, its foliage isn't getting significantly bigger. And I mean, it's not a type of Aglaonema that you typically see like huge leaves on, but I'm wondering if maybe I should up its light a little bit. I don't know. It's in my cabinet at the moment again. I was going to say I've got a few of these in my cabinet. Maybe I should, well, I don't know, maybe I could transition it out. In fact, one thing that I'm really keen to do at some point soon is have a complete reset of my IKEA Millsbo cabinet, just because there's lots of stuff in there that I don't know, things that I feel like I could pot up together and like actually make full plants of. I've got lots of propagations. I've got lots of things that I really like. I'm just a bit, I don't want to say bored of my cabinet, but I just feel I fancy a mix-up. Things in there have been looking very similar for a very long time, and I think I'd just like to revamp it a little bit. So yeah, that is something that maybe in the next few weeks I'll start to tackle. I don't know. There's so many things I want to do, so many things. But yeah, a revamp of my cabinet is definitely on the cards, and maybe when I do, I can think about getting that one out and transitioning it into life in this space or somewhere else in the house. I don't know. But another one I'm 100% going to have to move out of my cabinet soon is my Musa Florida, because look at the size of this now. It is sizing up so quickly, and I only put this one in semi-hydro a couple of weeks ago, if that, maybe a week and a half ago, and literally since I've done that there has been firstly no acclimation issues, which I'm really happy about because I was a little bit nervous about transferring it into a new substrate. It's giving me so much growth. I can already see, this is the leaf that it was starting to unfurl when I made the transfer. That one has completely unfurled now, and I can already see a new leaf starting to come up. I'm not sure if you can, might not be able to see on camera yet, but right in the middle I can see the start of a new leaf. And this one is just so beautiful. I love the variegation on it. Similar to the Aglaonema tricolour, I just love the different shades of green in its leaves. Someone a while ago I saw, I think on a Facebook group or like a meme or something, said that this plant reminded them of a barcode. And like, I mean a very beautiful barcode, but I do kind of see what that person means because it is very block variegation. But I really like that. It feels very intentional. And yeah, it's one that I would not say I found easy. It's one that I very much had to rehab since getting because it arrived not looking good, but I just can't wait to grow it big. I really, really hope I can grow it big. A lot of you have said that this one might do quite well outside over the summer months as well, which is a little bit scary because I don't ever really put my plants outside for the summer. Yeah, like I know some people in the UK do, and I've now got a garden, so maybe I can think about that. But yeah, I might do that. In the meantime though, it is going to have to come out of the cabinet probably by the time its next new leaf unfurls, just because it's ginormous. But I'm glad that it's happy so far. And then my Begonia corallina, I think. This is one that I got from cuttings of Emma's plant. This one is doing beautifully, and I know that this one can get ginormous because Emma's neighbour was growing this plant for a couple of years, I think. Like whenever I went round to Emma's house outside her front door, I'd always be amazed at this begonia. It was just gorgeous. And then I believe the landlord said, you're not allowed to leave it outside the front door, it's a fire hazard. And so they were made to cut the begonia down, which is heartbreaking. But they gave Emma some cuttings, and she said that when it started to grow, she'd give me some, and bless her, she did. And it's growing so well for me. It's got those beautiful pinky backs of the leaves. But I have so far, it's also very dry, it needs a water. I have so far been growing it in a no drainage vessel. This is actually just plastic with chunky semi-hydro on the bottom and then a soil mix on top. And I do think that's working pretty well for the plant. It does seem happy, but I think now it is due for a repot. And I think just because I've been doing it with a few of my other begonias, I'm like, because I'm going to repot the plant soon, should I reevaluate the way I'm growing it? And I've had so much luck recently with growing begonias in semi-hydro. Again, I know I'm banging on about semi-hydro all the time, but a lot of you guys as well have also said that you've opted for semi-hydro for begonias and it's kept them really happy. So I'm like, should I go with that? Again, if you've got any thoughts, please let me know. But at the moment, that's kind of what I'm feeling might be the best option for this plant. I'm definitely going to go in with a bigger container as well, because I think that would just really help to support the plant. Talking of support, I should probably stake it as well, because it's getting very like forward heavy at the moment, and I think it would appreciate some upright guidance. I'd love to just try and grow this one really, really big, because it's one as well that although it does appreciate slightly higher levels of light, it can be grown apparently in like medium to shady conditions. I think obviously its growth won't be quite so fast in that kind of lighting condition, but I don't know, I mind that. Like I'm thinking maybe, I don't know if my dining room would be too dark. I don't know if you can really tell there, and I have actually got the lights on. That might be too dark for it. But maybe the living room at some point. Maybe I could think about that. Because yeah, it's so pretty. I love its polka dotty leaves. They're just so delicate and so lovely. So yeah, fingers crossed, coming out of growing season, this one is going to be significantly bigger. I'd like to not necessarily focus on like huge upwards growth initially. I'd like to just focus on getting its foliage to size up, like big leaves, because I don't have many begonias that I know can do it in the same way as the corallinas. So yeah, again, I will keep you updated. And then one that I haven't shown you before, because I haven't been quite sure about how I'm growing this plant, and to be honest, I'm still not quite sure, but is this beautiful little Dracaena Milky Way. I believe it is pronounced Dracaena. I, for years, have been saying Dracaena, and I keep getting corrected, so I'm going to try and say Dracaena from now on. But yeah, it's so pretty. It's got beautiful variegation, and you can see why it's called Milky Way, because it's got those gorgeous kind of, they're almost like stars. It's so pretty. And I haven't had it that long, but in the time I've had it, it has given me no growth, and it hasn't looked entirely happy. It's a much thinner leafed plant than a lot of the other Dracaenas in my collection. And I think I probably just need to get to know the plant a little bit more and just figure it out, because I've just kind of been putting it in the same kind of conditions as I would, like, I don't know, like the Goldiana and stuff like that, and been hoping it to do the same thing. And yeah, no growth. Oh, no growth yet. So if anyone has any tips, please let me know. I'm kind of tempted almost to put it into a prop box, or maybe a cabinet. Maybe this is one that I could put into my cabinet. That might not be a bad shout when I have the revamp. But yeah, currently it's very beautiful and I'm very excited about it. I'd love to grow this one big. I'd love to, I've been thinking about like ways that I could train plants and like do fun things with plants in my like primary planty space, which is this room. And initially, before we moved in, I was like, I'm going to keep the walls very clean and I'm just going to like have like plants everywhere. And now I'm thinking, considering the fact that it is such a separate space and it doesn't feel cluttered having loads of green in here, I'm now thinking that I am just going to train vines to go everywhere. And in fact, I know I've shown you my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, but I have started as well up there, if you have a look, to train things like, that's my Scindapsus exotica, and I plan to just keep doing that with plants and just making this like a fully green sanctuary of like paradise, like green everywhere. And yeah, this one will at some point need some support, and I'm thinking maybe I could even train this to go up the wall. I don't know. Part of me is like, I could also mount, I don't know, this is just going OTT now, but I could mount some pieces of cork bark onto the wall and then I could have things kind of climbing up them. I don't know, but I would just really love this room to just be like a slice of jungle, because what I love more than anything is just standing at the end of the house and just looking through into this section. I feel like everything just, I don't know, whereas in the flat at times, I'm waffling, I know, whereas in the flat at times, I'd look at things and think, God, this feels cluttered and chaotic. This just feels very intentional currently. So yeah, that was a tangent. But yeah, still figuring it out, but really hope I can make it do good things in the next few months. I do have faith. I've got all the faith. And although it's not giving me immense amounts of growth, it does seem fairly happy, I would say. So yeah, any tips, let me know. But otherwise, I will come back to you on that one. And then a couple of others. A very quick one on my Drymonia chiribogana, because I know, again, this is one that I'm really trying to figure out again. I felt like I had this plant down at the beginning of last year and then everything went wrong. And since then, it's been really difficult for me. But in one of my Patreon live chats the other night, I decided to get it into semi-hydro, and you'll see that I have gone in with quite a big container. This is just 2 little sections of plant that I had that had rooted. But already I can see, can you see those little roots just there? I can see the roots starting to spread, which gives me so much hope. I also can see the start of some new growth in the last couple of days. So I'm like, maybe this is the way forward for this one. Because when I was growing it before in sphagnum moss, like if you look back on my videos from like January, February last year in 2024, I was just saying, I was like, this is the easiest plant ever. It gives me crazy growth. I've never known a plant to grow so quickly. And now I'm just kind of tiptoeing around it, trying to figure it out all over again, which is really crazy that a plant can just do that. So yeah, I'm hoping I've turned a corner here, because I'd really like to be able to, again, come back to you with some like definitive answers as to what's working and what's not. I've also seen that Grow Tropicals, I think, have just listed this plant on their website, and the fact that like more mainstream shops are starting to sell this plant now, I'm like, okay, chances are I'm going to be getting quite a lot of questions from you guys, or like more so because it's more available. I'd really like to be able to give you good advice, you know? I'd really like to feel like I know it. So yeah, it's so far so good is all I'm going to say, and let's hope things keep continuing to go well. But then I wanted to finish on one that is a plant that I have struggled with for such a long time. In fact, I think probably a couple of years now, and it is my Anthurium bullatus. And this is one that I've never really been able to get out of the one leaf club. And it gave me this leaf when I was at the flat, and I was so excited. And then, oh my God, I came home one day and I was just looking at this new leaf. It was new at the time. And I noticed a thrip on it, and I went, oh God. And I went to squash the thrip. And as I picked it up to squash the thrip, I snapped the main vein of the leaf. And as you can see, it has, yeah, just fully snapped. That leaf is now yellowing. However, it is giving me already another new leaf. And this is so out of character for my previous experiences with the plant. And I'm like, I have obviously just had a big shift up in environment. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I know you can't have the perfect environment for every type of plant. And I'm like, maybe there were some that just weren't happy at the flat, and maybe they're going to be totally different plants for me in this new space. So yeah, that feels very hopeful. This leaf is obviously still sizing up, hardening off, but also I can see down here there are some growth points on the chunk at the bottom. So I'm like, maybe this is one that's about to turn a massive corner, and I will be able to actually feel like I know quite well, because again, I'll put a picture on the screen of what this one looks like when it's big and mature. It is so gorgeous, and it was a wish list plant for me for such a long time. And so far it's just been struggle after struggle after struggle. So I'm feeling hopeful, I'm feeling excited. And yeah, if this is anything to go off, hopefully the next few months are going to treat this plant well. But yes, those are all of the ones that I brought over to show you today. I've got so many things that I could take you through. I am also, hopefully in the next month, going to be doing a houseplant tour again. I love doing my houseplant tour videos, but they do just take a very long time to make. So bear with me. I'm going to try and do that along with a house tour as well, because I know I haven't given you like a full look around the new house yet. But yes, those are things that are on my list. Also, let me know in the comments below what some of your plants are that you are really excited about at the moment. Either ones that you like are just enjoying growing, or ones that you're really looking forward to kind of seeing what they do when spring comes. Yeah, just let me know, because I always like to know. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.